Is this the best octaver for bass? Let's find out. So after what feels like an eternity, I'm finally back doing some videos. They've fair been piling up, but there's a good few things I want to get through on the channel. There's a lot coming up, more pedal demos, more music stuff, maybe even some sample creation stuff, so there's a lot coming soon. Hopefully I'll make up for the long absence. But for the first one back, I've chosen a pedal that I've been promising to demo for a long time now. And that's the Gojira FX Octave Generator. This is a pretty important pedal to me actually, because at the same time as I ordered this, again actually this is a pedal I bought, this is not a paid presentation, this is no paid demo, I bought this pedal with my own money. And actually at the same time as I bought this, I also bought a Boss OC2, which is a real classic pedal. In the bass community in particular, the Boss OC2 has been the king of the monophonic octave pedals for a long time. But in my opinion, this kind of knocks it off its throne a little bit, because it has options that far exceed what the OC2 can do. Now don't confuse this with a Boss OC2, because this is actually based on a pedal octave pedal. And because of that, it comes with some options that you're never going to get on the OC2. Like the OC2, we have clean -1 and -2, but we also have a +1 octave. So there's an extra octave above what you're playing. Still a monophonic octaver for all sounds, set to clean obviously, but that's a great thing because this is a monophonic octave pedal that has all that classic tone that you would get from a monophonic pedal. It's got all of those gritty sounds that you would expect, but I actually find this to be quite a bit smoother than most of your other octave pedals. It has all the usual things you would expect in a pedal: 1 input, 1 output, 9-volt supply, and clicky foot switch. But it has a massive sound to it that I actually find quite difficult to get from a lot of other octave pedals on the market, particularly for synth bass. But this is a lot of talk. I think we need to start hearing how this thing sounds. Now, the rig for today is going to be the same throughout all of the clips. It's this running into a Eden WTDI preamp, and that's running into a Nux Mini Studio, I always get the name of that wrong, the Nux Mini Studio Cabinet Sim pedal, IR loader. So it's a cabinet simulator with the cabinet set to the bass ones, and it's set in number 2. And the level's about halfway, and a little bit of the space control, but not too much. And then from there, it's running into Ableton through my interface. There's a Pultec EQ just to give it the sound of my bass sound, because I use that on everything. But it's very minimal. It's a minimal setup in Ableton actually processing it. I wanted to give you the true sound of the pedal and the pedal settings today. There's also a few different basses on the clips, but I'll tell you that with each clip. At the start of this video, you heard the Jojo Mayer setting. Now that's a famous Boss That's a famous Boss OC2 setting, which is made famous by Jojo Mayer, who is the drummer and the main man for the band Nerve, who do really out there electronic stuff. I love their music, to be honest. Some really famous bass players over the years: Yannick Gwizdala, Tim LaFave, and now John Davis, who are all real pedal geek level bass players. incredibly good tones, and this is a setting that they use on pretty much every Nerve gig, no matter who was playing, and that's where you take all of the signals out except from the -1, so no -2, no clean, and on this pedal no +1 either, so it's just the -1 signal. It's really subby, proper 808 style sounds. It's a great tone, and that's what you heard at the start of this video. But next up, I thought we would show you kind of everything this pedal can do. So there's going to be no funny settings, this is just every control maxed out. Have accommodated for that on the level of the preamp, but it's every setting, so +1, -1, -2 and clean, all up full. What I will say is, for all the sounds in this video, headphones or really good speakers are key, because there are so much sub-frequencies going on in this video. I've played this on the white jazz bass with round wound strings, and I've had to play quite high up because, like you'd expect from a bass, if you play it anywhere lower than about the 7th fret, even with a -1 octave, it's going to start having tracking issues. And we've got -2 in this clip as well, so I've had to keep it really high up, but because of that there's a really wide spectrum of sound this makes. So let's check that out in the next clip. So next up we're going to look at really a few different uses for my favourite sound. My favourite sound from this pedal is to use the -1 octave and the +1 octave and nothing else. Sometimes the clean signal gets blended in, and let's say you can get a good blend depending on what you're doing, but for me that sound itself is really what makes this pedal so special, and why, spoiler alert, I like this more than the OC2. That extra octave up really adds to the synth vibe when you start adding more pedals, but even on its own it's got its own character. It has a slight synthy edge without being too overpowering. So this next clip we're going back to the jazz bass with flat wounds that you heard in the first clip, and I'm going to play with a pick. No other pedals at this point, just this on its own with -1 and +1, no other signals present. I really like this sound, and it's a sound I use a lot, so let's check that out in the next clip. So next up we're staying with the same sound. We're going to swap to the fretless bass, because why not? I'll use a fretless on pretty much everything these days. But what I'm using with this one is I'm actually using a second pedal. We're adding a fuzz this time. And the fuzz of choice is the Subdark from Gojira FX as well. This is a one knob fuzz pedal with lovely Simpsons based graphics on this one. You can get it with other artwork though. And it's a great sounding fuzz. Actually, I demoed this on the channel, I think my first proper demo, so that'll be linked below. But really cool fuzz pedal. Not using it in the traditional sense today, because this pairing is being used to make synth bass sounds. And it's something I actually love doing on bass. If you've seen any of my other videos, that's no surprise to anyone. But synth bass is a big part of what I do. Today I'm actually taking the gain down on the preamp a little bit though, because I want to give this almost that Velcro-y starved thing. And when you do that, you can actually make this combination kind of glitch out a little bit and do some artifacts and, well, introduce artifacts that make it sound like a synthesizer. And with the fretless bass, I'm also going to be breaking every rule of fretless bass and sliding beyond notes I want and then back down, deliberately to try and create that pitch bend mod wheel thing that you would get if you played synth bass on a traditional synthesizer. So I think that's enough talking about it though. I think that's enough of an explanation. Let's check that out now. And last but not least, we've got what I would class as the real world, how I use this for synth bass sound. Still sticking with this. We're not doing the Velcro-y starve thing quite as much this time though, just a traditional fuzz into octaver thing. Still -1 +1, no clean, no -2. Going back to the jazz bass with flat wounds, the red one. And I'm also adding 2 other effects this time. We're adding the Chocka Tremolo from TC Electronics, just to give a bit of a pulse to it, which has been painstakingly matched speed-wise to fit the drum loop. It's never going to be perfectly in sync with this because there are human errors included, and it's not hard synced. So it's got a bit of a movement to it that I really like. But then after all of this, it's running into the preamp and into the Nux cab sim. But then in Ableton, I've also added an Arturia plugin, which is the Juno 60 chorus emulation. Great sounding chorus. And these 4 pedals together, along with the preamp setup, sound, I think, amazing. I think it's a great synth bass sound that after this video's out there, I'll probably come back to that and use that in a song because I was such a big fan of the sound. So this is a definite real world situation, how I would use these pedals. This is by no means prominent in the mix. It's a much more subtle thing in this setup than if it was on its own. But it's in a real world situation, it's balanced, and it adds a width and fatness to it that you're just not going to get without a pedal like this. Plus the clarity of the octave up, it just adds something else you were never going to get with an OC2 or something else. But before we play the last clip, I just want to give some final thoughts and do the sign off, and I'll put that clip at the end of the video. So I'm going to put this down before I drop anything. So what do I think about this pedal? Well, it's really no secret that I think this is probably the best octave pedal, at least for me. It's got all those things you'd want in a monophonic octaver for bass. It's got the grittiness, but it's also got a smoothness that other ones don't have. It could be gritty and smooth. They don't go together, but it does make sense. They do work together. It's quite compact. It's got that extra octave up, and to me, for synth bass, that is the game changer. It gives you that true extra oscillator synth bass thing that no other octave pedal has given you, while maintaining the monophonic aspects. It's the perfect blend of all worlds for octave pedals. Do I still use the OC2? Yeah, of course I do. It's a great octave pedal. But do I use this more? If I'm being totally honest, this gets chosen way more than the OC2 does. This honestly is a no-brainer. If you're a bass player who's looking for great synth bass or just great octave, can't you say it? Great octaver sounds, this is the way to go, at least in my opinion. And like I say, all of this is my opinion. I'd love to know what you think on this subject. So let me know down in the comments what you thought about this pedal, if you have a favourite clip, which one, and if you have any questions about this pedal, let me know down below and I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. So that's it for today. The last clip will play out over the outro. But before that, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's watched, or if you're going to comment below. I really appreciate the support. And if you do want to support the channel further, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to be notified of more content when it comes out. Shameless plug, you can also find my music, Teespring, and the contact for bass lessons, guitar lessons, music theory lessons, or session bass work, all linked down in the description. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and keep working on those bass faces.